strengths in your performance?
When reviewing my condition practice, I noticed that I had three main strengths. The first was that I hit 8 out of the 9 greens in regulation. I believe this is a very good statistic and is largely due to the fact that I had very good shoulder rotation. This enabled me to flex my elbow while enabling my torso to rotate. In addition to this, I got very good core stability, which enabled me to stabilize my torso, which led to a very consistent swing. In the downswing, my arms extended towards the ball with good hip rotation, which enabled me to gain power from my quadriceps and my hamstrings. From here, my wrists then extend, releasing the club head square onto the ball, which leads to very high accuracy and enabled me to get this good statistic. In addition to this, another strength that I noticed was that I only had 13 putts in the round. I believe that this is a combination of two factors. Firstly, my good approach play, enabling me to have very makeable putts, and secondly, the very good technical skill that I had. In preparation, my knees and my hips were flexed, which enabled me to engage my core and my abdominals. This led to a very solid and balanced base, which took out any movement variables that may lead to an inconsistent stroke. In addition to this, I had very good shoulder rotation, leading to a consistent abduction and adduction movement, and again this led to an accurate stroke being made. The third positive I took from my condition practice would be that I had a 100% scrambling rate. On the 2 occasions that I was called to get up and down from, I was successful. This is a very good statistic, as it enabled me to not have any drop shots during my round and therefore shoot a very good score. I believe that this is down to having good flexion in my knees and having a stable base, which can especially be seen in the bunker on hole 13. From here, I have very large amounts of wrist extension, which promotes high accuracy as the face is always being released back onto the ball square, enabling me to control my distance accuracy very well. In addition to this, my core stability and solid abduction and adduction movement enabled me to have very good distance control, which meant that my ball was always going to be very close to the hole.
Were there any weaknesses that you identified in your performance?
Yes, I noticed that I had 2 main weaknesses in my condition practice. Firstly, with my irons in particular, I stood far too close to the ball. This meant that my swing plane, although it was good for this particular practice, on other days it could lead to a slightly less consistent swing plane. This resulted in me having to extend my arms too early, which leads to a loss of explosive power and therefore a loss of distance. Although I was accurate today in my condition practice, on a longer course I feel like I may struggle, as I will not have as much distance as some of my competitors, which means that I will be hitting longer clubs into holes and therefore I won't have as much control over them. This will also mean that I'm not going to get the ball as close to the hole, and therefore I may not make as many putts, as I'm not leaving myself with easy putts. The second weakness that I noticed in my condition practice would be that I had a very early hip rotation. Although a large amount of hip rotation is a source of power, if in this case, where my hips go too early, it actually leads to me losing power and especially, more importantly, accuracy. The power that I create in my golf swing has to therefore come from other sources, such as a very large shoulder rotation or a slightly longer backswing. My early hip rotation means that when I'm hitting the ball, I'm on my tiptoes and my wrists have to extend far too early. This therefore also leads to me having a very inconsistent swing path, and I'm therefore too reliant on my hand-eye coordination to keep the ball going on target. In order for me to hit the ball with high accuracy and have it going where I want it to, I must time the extension of my wrist to perfection.
So what corrective practices would you put into place to address your weaknesses?
So the first weakness that I will address would be the fact that I was standing far too close to the ball. To address this, I will ensure that when I'm standing over the ball, I have much more flexion in my knees and in my hips. This will lead me to having a much more consistent swing plane, and therefore, obviously, I will improve my accuracy. To ensure that I am standing the correct distance from the ball, I will use a hand signal like this, where my pinky is onto the butt of the club and my thumb will rest against my belt buckle. This will ensure that when I take my grip, I'm the right distance away from the ball, and therefore I will improve my accuracy. The second way that I will improve, and the second weakness I will address, is my fast hip rotation. When practicing, I will really ensure that my right foot and my right leg stays planted on the floor for as long as possible, as this will allow me to bring power from the ground upwards. To do this, I will use progressive drills when retraining my swing. Firstly, I will start by doing 50% swings with no rotation in my hips, just hitting balls with 50% swing, getting used to the movement. The second progression that I will have will be that I will then extend my swing to about 75%, where I will introduce a little rotation, but really making sure that my right foot stays grounded, just having little rotation in the ball. And then from here, I will then progress my drill even further, where I will go up to a full 100% swing, making sure my hips rotate fully on the backswing, and then as I come through, they drive through, but they don't rotate too early. I will also really make sure that my right foot stays on the ground for as long as possible, but due to the fact that I'm hitting a full swing, my momentum will carry me forward, and therefore I will have to come off the floor at some point.
Okay, thank you very much.